History, as we know, it is built on a fragile story. Our journey through 25 unearthly structures will fundamentally reshape your understanding of human achievement. We will explore sites where ancient builders performed engineering miracles that our textbooks claim were impossible. How did they move 1,000-ton stones with such impossible precision? And why did this advanced knowledge vanish from the record? By the end, you will see the entire timeline of human advancement in a radical new light. What does our forgotten past reveal about our own potential? Our textbooks paint a clear and orderly picture of human progress. This conventional timeline begins with the dawn of agriculture, roughly 12,000 years ago, when nomadic hunters first settled into farming communities. From there, we are told, humanity slowly built its first cities in the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia. The Bronze Age introduced metalworking, followed later by the Iron Age, each innovation layering upon the last in a steady, predictable climb toward modernity. It is a story of gradual ascent, where complex societies and advanced technologies are the products of thousands of years of accumulated knowledge. This is the foundation upon which our entire understanding of history rests. Yet this very framework makes the structures we are about to explore so profoundly baffling. They simply do not fit. According to everything we think we know, the people of those eras lacked the mathematical precision, the engineering tools, and the organized labor to accomplish such feats. They were, by our historical accounts, simply not supposed to be capable of it. This established timeline is the wall against which these ancient mysteries shatter, and that collision is where our real investigation begins. So what exactly transforms an ancient ruin into an unearthly anomaly? It is a crucial distinction because our journey is not merely about cataloging old stones. We are searching for specific, tangible fingerprints of the impossible. The first and most telling sign is anachronistic knowledge. This means finding evidence of sophisticated mathematics, astronomy, or engineering principles that our historical timeline claims humanity should not have possessed for thousands of years. Imagine a single, perfect geometric ratio encoded into a building's dimensions, a ratio that would not be formally documented until millennia later. That is the kind of signature we are hunting. Another undeniable marker is inexplicable precision. We are not talking about roughly shaped blocks. We are talking about granite stones cut with a laser-like accuracy, with surfaces so flawlessly smooth and corners so perfectly square that modern engineers struggle to replicate the feat without computer-guided machinery. Then there is the mystery of logistics. How did builders move monolithic stones, some weighing more than 1,000 tons, across vast distances of rugged terrain, and then lift them into place with breathtaking accuracy? Finally, we look for celestial alignments, structures that function as giant astronomical observatories, their doorways and corridors precisely targeting solstice sunrises or specific stars with an accuracy that implies a deep, long-term understanding of cosmic cycles. Any one of these features is remarkable, but when a single site possesses all of them, it ceases to be just a building. It becomes a message from the past, a deliberate challenge to the story we tell ourselves about our own origins. This framework is our guide, our litmus test for the truly unearthly. Now, let us apply it to our first and perhaps most iconic location. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as a silent, monumental rebuke to our historical timeline. Its sheer scale is staggering, a mountain of stone built with over 2 million blocks, but the true enigmas are not found in its size alone. They are etched into the microscopic details of its construction. Consider its orientation. The pyramid's base is aligned to the cardinal points with an accuracy that defies logic. It is positioned to true north with a margin of error of just 1/15 of a single degree. This is more precise than the Royal Observatory in Greenwich, a building constructed millennia later with the full benefit of modern instruments. How could a civilization working only with copper chisels and stone hammers achieve such a perfect astronomical alignment? The mystery only deepens when you examine its foundation. Across a base covering 13 acres, the bedrock beneath the stones was leveled to within a fraction of an inch. This is not a rough approximation. It is a feat of engineering that would challenge teams with laser levels and GPS today. Then we enter the pyramid itself. The King's Chamber is built from immense blocks of red granite, a material so hard it can barely be cut with diamond-tipped saws. Each of these monolithic stones was quarried from a site over 500 miles away, transported across the desert, and then hoisted to a position deep inside the pyramid's core. The logistical nightmare of this operation is almost incomprehensible. Mainstream theories suggest vast ramps were used, yet no evidence of such ramps exists, and the proposed designs would have required more material than the pyramid itself. This glaring absence of a clear method has fueled more speculative ideas, from lost sonic technologies that softened stone to the radical concept of anti-gravity levitation. Whether you accept these theories or not, the Great Pyramid remains. It is a structure that should not, by our conventional understanding, exist in its time. It is not merely a tomb, it is a powerful physical argument carved in stone, forcing us to reconsider everything we claim to know about the capabilities of our ancestors. Puma Punku shatters the very definition of ancient construction. Nestled high in the Bolivian Andes, this sprawling complex does not look like a temple or a palace. Instead, it resembles the scattered wreckage of a sophisticated factory floor. The ground is littered with andesite and granite blocks, but these are not simple stones. They are precision-cut components, each one a geometric puzzle piece. Many are carved into complex H-shaped forms, while others are slotted with an intricate network of channels and notches, all designed to interlock with impossible accuracy. The edges of these blocks are not merely straight, they are razor-sharp, maintaining flawless lines and perfect 90-degree angles across their entire length. Even more telling are the drill holes found in some slabs. These are not rough, conical indentations. They are perfectly cylindrical bores, as if created by a modern power drill with a diamond-tipped bit. The conventional timeline attributes Puma Punku to the Tiwanaku culture, which thrived over 1,000 years ago. Yet the known toolkit of this civilization consisted of stone hammers and copper chisels, tools utterly incapable of producing such machine-like perfection on one of the hardest stones on Earth. How do you carve granite with the precision of a laser cutter using only primitive implements? The site presents a stark choice. Either we have drastically underestimated the technological prowess of an ancient culture, or Puma Punku is the physical evidence of a different, far more advanced chapter in human history, one that our textbooks have yet to acknowledge. The sheer impossibility of Puma Punku's precision finds its echo in a different kind of mystery, one defined not by intricate detail but by raw, overwhelming scale. In the Bekaa Valley of Lebanon, the ruins of the Roman temple complex at Baalbek stand as a testament to imperial might, but their true secret lies hidden beneath the grand colonnades. The Romans, master builders in their own right, chose to construct their grandest temples here upon a pre-existing foundation of such colossal proportions that it defies all Roman engineering capabilities. This older platform includes the famous trilithon, 3 perfectly fitted limestone blocks, each one an estimated 800 tons. To put that into perspective, that is the weight of 2 fully loaded jumbo jets. These stones were not just shaped, they were quarried from a site over a mile away, transported across uneven terrain, and then hoisted over 20 feet into the air to form a seamless wall. Even our most powerful modern cranes would be pushed to their absolute limits to replicate this feat, yet the trilithon is not even the largest stone at the site. Just a short distance from the main complex lies the stone of the pregnant woman, a single, lonely block still nestled in its quarry. It weighs an astonishing 1,000 tons. The question is not just how it was cut from the bedrock, but how its builders ever intended to move it. The Romans were brilliant engineers, but they left no records, no diagrams, and no explanations for how they could have handled such monoliths. This glaring omission points to a far more compelling possibility. The Romans did not build this foundational layer, they simply found it. They saw the work of a forgotten civilization and built their own temples atop this existing pedestal of giants, co-opting a sacred site whose original architects and their methods have been completely erased from history. High above the modern city of Cusco, the fortress of Sacsayhuaman presents a puzzle carved from solid limestone. Its walls are composed of enormous blocks, some weighing well over 100 tons, stacked together in a dizzying jigsaw pattern. Yet the true marvel is not their size, but the seams where they meet. The joints between these colossal stones are so impossibly tight that not even the edge of a sheet of paper can be inserted into the gaps. This is not simple, stacked brickwork. It is a form of three-dimensional knitting in stone. Each block is a unique polygonal shape, featuring a dozen or more angles and complex, curved interfaces that lock perfectly with its neighbors on all sides. This intricate design was not for decoration. It was a brilliant and deliberate engineering solution. For centuries, this wall has withstood powerful earthquakes that have leveled the Spanish colonial buildings constructed nearby. During a tremor, the entire structure dances, the interlocking stones shifting and settling against one another before clicking back into place, perfectly intact. How was this achieved? The conventional answer of bronze tools and stone hammers is utterly insufficient. How do you carve a 20-ton block of limestone with such microscopic precision that it fits its neighbor on all 6 sides without a single gap? The method remains a complete mystery, a lost art of construction that provided seismic resilience modern engineers are only beginning to understand. This was not crude fortification, it was a masterclass in manipulating solid rock, a technology that seems to have vanished as suddenly as it appeared. Just when you thought the timeline could not be challenged more deeply, a hilltop in Turkey reveals a secret that unravels the very foundation of our story. Göbekli Tepe was discovered in the 1990s, a site so ancient it seems to exist in a different epoch of human history. Its stone circles were erected around 9,600 BCE, a staggering 6,000 years before Stonehenge and a full 7 millennia before the Great Pyramid of Giza. According to everything we have been taught, the people of this era were simple hunter-gatherers, nomadic bands focused solely on survival. They were not supposed to possess the capacity for large-scale organization, for advanced symbolic thought, or for projects requiring a coordinated labor force over generations. Yet Göbekli Tepe stands in direct contradiction. This is not a simple settlement. It is a complex of multiple stone circles, each defined by massive, T-shaped limestone pillars weighing many tons. These pillars are not crude posts. They are expertly quarried, transported, and erected, and many are intricately carved with a menagerie of animals and abstract symbols. The craftsmanship reveals an artistic and symbolic sophistication that textbooks reserve for much later agricultural societies. This creates a monumental paradox. How could roaming hunters, without the surplus food provided by farming, dedicate the immense time and labor required to build such a place? the very existence of Göbekli Tepe forces a radical question. What if we have the story backwards? What if it was the urge to build sacred sites like this, the need to gather for ritual and construction, that actually prompted humanity to settle down and invent agriculture? Instead of civilization leading to monument building, perhaps the drive to create these unearthly structures is what truly sparked civilization itself. This single site does not just add an older chapter to our history, it demands we rewrite the entire book from its very first page. From the ancient hilltop of Göbekli Tepe, we travel to one of the most isolated places on Earth. Easter Island stands alone in the vast Pacific, a speck of land thousands of miles from any continent. Here, the iconic stone heads, the Moai, stare silently inland. But these are not merely heads. They are complete figures, many buried up to their shoulders, their full bodies extending deep into the earth. They were carved from a unique material called compressed volcanic ash, a stone that is surprisingly soft when quarried but hardens upon exposure to air. The scale of this endeavor is almost beyond belief. The largest of these statues, known as Paro, stands nearly 33 feet tall and weighs an astonishing 82 tons. That is heavier than a full-grown humpback whale. The central enigma is not their creation but their journey. The main quarry sits in the heart of the island, while the final platforms, called Ahu, are scattered along the coastline, some miles away across a rugged, unforgiving landscape. How did a society with no wheels, no metal tools, and no large animals for traction move these monolithic figures? Oral traditions passed down through generations tell a story that sounds like pure myth. They say the statues walked. In a fascinating modern experiment, researchers managed to replicate this idea. Teams used ropes to rock a replica Moai back and forth, literally making it walk in a controlled sway across the landscape. It worked, but the feat remains staggering. Coordinating such a movement for an 82-ton giant over miles of rough terrain would require an immense, highly organized labor force and a profound understanding of physics and balance. This was not the work of a simple, isolated tribe barely surviving. It was the signature of a sophisticated, determined culture that poured its entire identity into a monumental, island-wide project. The Moai are not just statues, they are a testament to what human cooperation can achieve, even in the most remote corners of the world, and their silent presence asks us how such a powerful society could have ever faded away. While the Moai stand in isolation on their remote island, another mystery lies submerged beneath the waves. Off the coast of Japan's Yonaguni Island, a massive, stepped formation descends into the deep blue, a structure so geometrically perfect it seems to defy the random chaos of nature. This is the Yonaguni Monument. From above, it looks like a sunken ziggurat, a pyramid-like structure with sharp, 90-degree angles, clean terraces, and long, parallel channels running along its faces. There are what appear to be staircases, arched entrances, and even a platform that resembles a stage. The sheer regularity of these features screams of intelligent design. Many geologists and archaeologists who have dived the site argue that natural sandstone fracturing, combined with strong ocean currents, could never produce such consistent right angles and parallel lines across such a vast area. If this is indeed a human creation, the implications are staggering. The monument now sits deep enough underwater that it would have been on dry land only during the last ice age, when global sea levels were dramatically lower. This pushes its potential construction date back to at least 10,000 years ago. That is a time when, according to our conventional history, humanity was composed of small, nomadic bands of hunter-gatherers, people who should have been focused solely on survival, not on quarrying, shaping, and moving immense blocks of stone to build a colossal, terraced complex. The debate between a natural wonder and a human masterpiece is fierce, and it may never be fully settled. But the Yonaguni monument presents us with a haunting possibility, the silhouette of a lost civilization resting on the Pacific seabed, a ghost from a timeline we are only beginning to recognize. The silent, sunken geometry of Yonaguni finds a strange terrestrial counterpart on the windswept coast of Brittany. Here, in the village of Carnac, the landscape itself has been transformed into a colossal mathematical diagram. Over 3,000 prehistoric standing stones march across the countryside in eerily straight lines, some rows stretching for over 2.5 miles. This is not a random collection of boulders. The Carnac alignments are a deliberate, sprawling composition of granite megaliths, erected around 4,500 BC. Walking among these ancient rows is a disorienting experience. The stones vary in size, from modest uprights to towering monoliths weighing dozens of tons, yet they are all part of a single, unified design whose purpose has been utterly lost to time. Was this a gigantic astronomical calculator, its lines pointing to the solstice sun or specific lunar standstills? Could it have been a sacred temple complex, its avenues meant for ritual processions that channeled earthly energies? The theories are compelling, but they all circle back to the same fundamental mystery. The true function of Carnac is secondary to the staggering fact of its very existence. The sheer scale of the labor involved is almost incomprehensible. We are looking at the coordination of a society capable of quarrying, transporting, and precisely erecting thousands of multi-ton stones across a vast territory. This was not the work of a few scattered families. It required a shared vision, a powerful social organization, and a communal purpose that united generations of people. The precise geometric patterns and the potential celestial alignments encoded in the rows reveal a sophisticated understanding of both the land and the sky, a knowledge we rarely grant to the Neolithic cultures of Europe. Carnac stands as a silent, sprawling testament to a forgotten collective will, a society that rearranged its entire world not for defense or shelter, but for a reason we can no longer decipher. Their purpose lies invisible at ground level. Scattered across the arid plains of southern Peru, the Nazca lines are a gallery of giants only the sky can see. Created over a 1,000-year period, these are not mere scratches on the earth. Artists from the ancient Nazca culture carefully removed a layer of dark, oxidized pebbles to reveal the stark, light-colored sand beneath, etching a menagerie of colossal figures into the desert floor. We find a hummingbird with wings outstretched over 250 feet, a spider with legs perfectly proportioned, a monkey with an intricately coiled tail. Alongside these organic forms are vast geometric shapes, clean triangles and trapezoids that stretch for miles, and straight lines so impossibly long and true they seem to defy the curvature of the earth itself. The central, haunting question is not how they were made, but why. Why would a people without the power of flight invest such immense effort into creating art they could never behold in its entirety? Were these sprawling images offerings to gods who viewed the world from above, a celestial calendar mapping the movements of stars, or perhaps even landing markers for visitors from beyond our own world? The sheer scale and flawless preservation of these geoglyphs, surviving centuries of wind and rare rain, point to a profound and deliberate knowledge. This was not random art. It was a coordinated, sacred communication with forces we can no longer comprehend, a message written on a planetary scale for an audience we have forgotten. The silent, sprawling messages of the Nazca Desert give way to a mystery set in the rolling green of the English countryside. Stonehenge is an icon, its great Sarsen trilithons instantly recognizable, but the true secret of the monument lies in its smaller, inner circle of stones. These are the Bluestones, and their journey is perhaps more incredible than the final structure they form. Each of these Bluestones weighs up to 4 tons, and geological analysis has proven beyond any doubt that they were quarried from the Preseli Hills in Wales. This creates a logistical nightmare spanning over 150 miles of rugged prehistoric Britain. How do you move 80 massive stones across rivers, through dense forests, and over mountains without the wheel, without roads, and without a single draft animal to help with the burden? For a long time, one theory offered a convenient escape. Perhaps glaciers during the last ice age had carried these specific rocks eastward, depositing them conveniently near the Salisbury Plain. That geological explanation has now been thoroughly debunked. The path of ice flows does not match, and no other bluestone erratics from Wales have been found anywhere along the proposed route. This leaves only one staggering conclusion: human beings moved them. The sheer magnitude of this undertaking is difficult to overstate. We are not talking about a single heroic effort. This was a multi-generational project of staggering coordination. Imagine teams of people using only ropes, wooden sledges, and rollers, inching each 4-ton block across the landscape. They would have had to navigate treacherous terrain, build temporary causeways across soft ground, and perhaps even use rivers to float portions of the journey on massive rafts. The labor and time investment would have been astronomical, consuming the energy and focus of an entire society for decades. This forces a profound question. What possible motivation could justify such an unimaginable effort? The Bluestones were not chosen for their structural necessity. The larger local sarsen's hold up the famous arches. They were chosen for a reason that transcended pure engineering. Perhaps the stones themselves were believed to hold unique spiritual or healing properties, their specific geological origin making them sacred. Their journey from a distant, mystical land might have been a vital part of their power, a pilgrimage in stone. The transport of the Bluestones is in many ways a greater feat than the construction of the circle itself. It represents a cultural imperative so powerful, a shared belief so absolute, that it compelled an entire civilization to achieve the physically impossible. We can see how they might have been raised, but we may never fully understand why they were brought. The sophistication of Stonehenge reveals a culture obsessed with celestial cycles, but another discovery from the ancient world proves this fascination was paired with a mechanical genius we never knew existed. In 1901, sponge divers off the coast of a small Greek island named Antikythera stumbled upon a Roman shipwreck. Amidst the shattered statues and ancient pottery, they recovered a lump of corroded bronze, so encrusted and unremarkable it was initially set aside with other minor artifacts. Decades later, when the crust was carefully removed, archaeologists were stunned to find the remains of a complex mechanical device. An intricate clockwork of interlocking bronze gears housed in a wooden frame. This is the Antikythera mechanism. Scientific imaging has since revealed it to be an astronomical calculator of breathtaking complexity. Through a series of at least 30 precise meshing gears, this device could predict the positions of the sun and moon, forecast lunar and solar eclipses, and even track the 4-year cycle of the Olympic Games. It was, in essence, the world's first known analog computer. The craftsmanship required to design and build such an instrument is staggering. Each gear had to be hand-cut with the exact number of teeth to replicate specific celestial ratios, a feat of micro-engineering that would not be seen again until the sophisticated clockwork of 14th century Europe. This single object shatters the comfortable image of the ancient Greeks as purely theoretical philosophers, men who contemplated the heavens but lacked the practical skill to model them in metal. The Antikythera mechanism is undeniable proof of a parallel path of technological advancement, a road not taken that lay hidden on the ocean floor for 2,000 years. Its very existence forces us to wonder what other intricate devices, what other marvels of ancient engineering were lost to the corrosive passage of time. The intricate gears of the Antikythera mechanism reveal a society capable of modeling the heavens, yet another ancient wonder demonstrates a genius for transforming the earth itself, not upward toward the stars, but deep into the ground. In the heart of Turkey's Cappadocia region, the landscape is dotted with strange, cone-shaped rock formations, a soft volcanic stone called tuff. But the true marvel is not on the surface, it is hidden beneath it. Here lies Derinkuyu, an entire city carved downward into the living rock, a labyrinthine world extending 18 stories deep into the earth. This was not a simple cave or a temporary shelter. It was a fully self-sufficient subterranean metropolis, a complex engineered to sustain an estimated 20,000 people for extended periods. Wandering through its rediscovered levels is like exploring an inverted skyscraper from the ancient world. You find not just cramped tunnels, but spacious living quarters, communal kitchens, stables for livestock, intricate churches with vaulted ceilings, and even specialized rooms for pressing wine and cooking oil. Every feature was meticulously planned. The most critical challenge was air. How do you keep tens of thousands of people breathing so far underground? The builders solved this with over 50 sophisticated ventilation shafts, each one a masterpiece of engineering that channeled fresh air to the very deepest levels, a system so effective the atmosphere remains crisp and breathable even today. They also carved their own protected water wells, tapping into the underground water table to ensure a constant supply, safe from contamination or siege on the surface. Security was paramount. The city was designed to be sealed from the inside. Massive, circular stone doors, each weighing several hundred pounds, could be rolled across key passageways, blocking invaders completely. These were not mere rocks, they were precision-engineered components that fit into slots carved into the tunnel walls, functioning like the blast doors of a modern bunker. The sheer scale of the excavation is staggering. Removing the immense volume of rock to create this multi-level city would have been a generational project, requiring not just labor but a profound knowledge of geology and structural integrity to prevent collapses. The official timeline places its peak use in the Byzantine era as a refuge, but its true origins are shrouded in mystery, with some arguing its first levels could be far older. Derinkuyu presents a profound question. What kind of threat or what kind of societal vision drives an entire civilization to turn its back on the sun and invest so completely in a life beneath the soil? This was not a desperate, last-ditch hideout. It was a planned, permanent, and thriving underground world, a testament to a forgotten people who chose to seek their future not in towering monuments, but in the profound, protected silence of the earth. Deep in the heart of southern Africa, the wind whispers through the ruins of a forgotten empire. Great Zimbabwe stands as a silent, stone metropolis, a sprawling complex of granite walls and enclosures that once housed a kingdom of unparalleled wealth and power. This was not a simple village, but the capital of a vast trading network that stretched all the way to the coasts of China and Arabia, flourishing between the 11th and 15th centuries. Its crown jewel is the Great Enclosure, a breathtaking structure whose dry stone walls curve and tower over 30 feet into the sky, all constructed without a single drop of mortar. The genius of this construction lies in its deceptive simplicity. The builders selected granite slabs, splitting them naturally along their fault lines, and then meticulously shaped them to fit together with such precision that the walls have endured for nearly 1,000 years. This was not a haphazard pile of rocks. It was a complex architectural design featuring decorated passageways, a high conical tower, and strategic layouts that reveal a deep understanding of both ceremony and administration. The sophistication required for such a project is undeniable, demanding not just skilled masons but surveyors, planners, and a powerful central authority to coordinate it all. Yet for centuries, the very existence of Great Zimbabwe posed a direct threat to a colonial worldview. When European explorers first encountered these magnificent ruins, their prejudice would not allow them to accept the truth. They concocted fantastical theories, attributing the city's construction to the Phoenicians, the Queen of Sheba, or Arab traders, any civilization but the African one that actually built it. They were determined to strip the achievement from its rightful creators, unable to reconcile the advanced society before their eyes with their own deeply ingrained biases. Great Zimbabwe, therefore, stands as a dual challenge. Its architectural brilliance defies the outdated notion that complex societies only emerged in Europe and Asia, while its modern history forces us to confront the uncomfortable fact that our understanding of the past has often been warped by those who sought to control the narrative. This is more than just an ancient city. It is a monument to a truth that was deliberately suppressed, a powerful reminder that innovation and grandeur are not the exclusive inheritance of any one continent or culture. The silent, sprawling metropolis of Great Zimbabwe speaks of a known, if suppressed, civilization, but some structures offer no names at all, only the ghost of their presence. Deep beneath the Chinese province of Zhejiang, the Longyu Caves are a subterranean world of pure mystery. 24 caverns were hand-carved from solid, brittle siltstone, each one a colossal underground hall. Stepping inside is like entering the gutted hull of a stone mountain. The ceilings soar high overhead, supported by massive, evenly spaced pillars that the builders left standing as they excavated the surrounding rock. Every single surface, from the walls to the pillars to the vaulted ceilings, is covered in a uniform, decorative pattern of parallel chisel marks, a deliberate, rhythmic design that covers every inch of the interior. This was not a quick, utilitarian dig. It was an act of monumental artistic obsession. The sheer volume of rock removed is almost beyond comprehension, estimated at nearly 1 million cubic meters. To put that staggering figure into perspective, that is enough excavated material to fill over 200 Olympic-sized swimming pools. This was an industrial-scale project that would have required the coordinated labor of thousands of workers, toiling for generations. Yet, this immense undertaking has vanished from history. There are no written records, no oral legends, not a single shred of evidence pointing to who built these caves or why. The construction is estimated to be over 2,000 years old, placing it in a turbulent period of Chinese history, yet the official histories are completely silent. This absence is as telling as the caves themselves. Why would a society invest such phenomenal resources into a project, only to never speak of it again? The purpose is utterly unknown. They were not used as tombs, for no burial artifacts have been found. They show no signs of being dwellings or storage facilities. The precise, repeating chisel marks suggest a symbolic or aesthetic purpose far beyond mere function, but its meaning is locked in the stone. The logistical genius required is another enigma. How did the builders plan the layout of 24 separate caves, ensuring the pillars were perfectly positioned to prevent collapse, all while working in complete darkness, illuminated only by flickering lamps? The Longyu Caves stand as a direct challenge to our understanding of the past. They are the signature of a powerful, organized, and artistically sophisticated culture that conducted one of the largest underground construction projects in history, and then simply walked away, leaving behind 1,000,000 cubic meters of empty space and a mystery that echoes through the silence. Layers beneath the Pyramid of the Sun conceal a secret more telling than its colossal scale. This ancient Mexican monument rises from the high plateau like a man-made mountain, its sheer volume a testament to a forgotten will. Yet its true mystery is not found in the millions of tons of stone piled high, but in a deliberate, hidden inclusion. Deep within the pyramid's structure, archaeologists discovered a thick, continuous layer of mica. This is not a random mineral. Mica is a sophisticated insulator, prized in modern times for its remarkable ability to block heat and electricity. It is a material used in the most advanced technologies of our own era, from nuclear reactors to sophisticated electronics. So why was a sheet of this highly specific, non-decorative mineral carefully inserted into the heart of a pre-Columbian pyramid? It serves no structural or aesthetic purpose that we can discern. Its placement feels deliberate, functional, as if the builders were creating a kind of barrier or shield for a purpose we can no longer comprehend. This enigma is magnified by the city that surrounds it. Teotihuacan is a masterpiece of urban planning, a vast metropolis laid out on a rigid, geometric grid with an accuracy that rivals any modern city. Its central avenue, the Avenue of the Dead, aligns not with a random point on the horizon, but with the precise setting point of the Pleiades star cluster. The entire city is a terrestrial map of celestial movements, a fact that reveals a profound and long-term astronomical understanding. Who were the architects of this grand design? The answer is that we simply do not know. When the Aztecs stumbled upon this place centuries later, they found only a ghost city of magnificent, empty ruins. They named it Teotihuacan, meaning the place where the gods were created, admitting they had no connection to its origin. The builders themselves left no written records, no royal tombs, no clear depictions of their rulers. They vanished completely, leaving behind only their impossible city, a sealed master plan executed by a culture that erased itself from history, taking the reason for its mica-shielded pyramid with it. While the vanished architects of Teotihuacan left behind a city of celestial alignments, another Egyptian site presents a paradox built from stone so ancient it seems to predate Egypt itself. Hidden directly behind the magnificent temple of Seti I in Abydos lies the Osirian, a structure that feels entirely out of place and time. Upon descending into its water-logged core, you are not greeted by the intricate hieroglyphs and elegant columns of classic Egyptian design. Instead, you find a stark, almost brutalist architecture composed of colossal blocks of red granite, each one weighing dozens of tons. The style is starkly different, a megalithic, monumental form that feels more at home with the Cyclopean foundations at Giza than with the refined temple it sits behind. This is not just an aesthetic difference, it is a profound architectural anomaly. The entire structure sits at a significantly lower level than Seti's temple, as if it is the surviving foundation of a much older world upon which the newer civilization simply built around. The sheer mass of the stones and the somber, imposing style have led many researchers to a startling conclusion. The Osirian may not be a new kingdom construction at all, but a surviving relic from a pre-dynastic period, a time before the first pharaohs ever ruled the Nile. This would mean the Osirian is not merely old, but impossibly ancient, a piece of a forgotten civilization's architecture that the Egyptians of Seti's time discovered, revered, and incorporated into their own sacred landscape. They found a monument they could not build themselves, and so they claimed it, building their own temple in its shadow, leaving this granite enigma as a silent, sunken clue to a timeline far older than we ever knew. On the sun-scorched Maltese islands, the Ġgantija temples rise from the earth with a primal, almost brutal power. Their name literally translates to the Tower of the Giants, a label born from local folklore that insists these stones were laid by a race of immense beings. Walking among these ruins, it is easy to understand why the legend took root. We are looking at some of the oldest free-standing stone structures on the entire planet, erected between 3600 and 3200 BCE. That is 1,000 years older than the Great Pyramid of Giza. The construction relies on colossal blocks of coralline limestone, some weighing over 50 tons, stacked into curved walls that form a complex, cloverleaf-like design of interconnected chambers. This was not a haphazard pile of rocks. This was sophisticated, planned architecture, a layout that required a deep understanding of load-bearing forces and spatial harmony. The sheer weight of the stones alone speaks to a powerful, centralized authority, an organizing force that could command the labor and resources needed for such a monumental project. And this is where the historical timeline begins to fray at the edges. The people of Malta during this era, known as the Temple period, are not believed to have practiced large-scale agriculture. They had no metal tools, working only with stone and obsidian. They had no wheels and no large animals to help with traction. How does a society without a significant food surplus, using only primitive tools, muster the coordinated effort to quarry, transport, and erect a 50-ton block of stone? Where did the manpower come from, and what belief was so powerful, so unifying, that it compelled them to achieve this Stone Age marvel? The Ġgantija temples stand as a silent rebuke to our simple models of social evolution, proving that the human drive to build the impossible can flourish even in the most unexpected of circumstances. Mythology and history collide off the western coast of India, where the Arabian Sea guards a secret that was once thought to be pure legend. For centuries, the stories of Lord Krishna's magnificent capital, the golden city of Dwarka, were considered beautiful allegories, epic poems with no basis in physical reality. Then marine archaeologists began to explore the seabed near the modern town of Dwarka. What they found there sent shockwaves through the historical community. Scattered across the ocean floor lay the distinct remains of a sunken settlement. They discovered massive stone blocks forming defensive walls, scattered pillars, and a trove of artifacts including pottery and stone anchors. Carbon dating of these materials places them firmly around 1500 BCE. The existence of a sophisticated, fortified city at this date is a revelation in itself, but its location is the true key to the mystery. For this city to now be submerged, it had to have been built on dry land, meaning it was constructed during the last ice age when global sea levels were dramatically lower. This pushes its origins back thousands of years before the accepted dawn of major Indian urban centers. The discovery forces a staggering reconsideration. Were the ancient Sanskrit texts, the Mahabharata and the Puranas, not merely spiritual metaphors but actual historical records? Did a highly advanced coastal civilization, with the knowledge to build in stone and navigate the oceans, truly exist along this shoreline, only to be swallowed by the rising waters at the end of the Ice Age? The submerged walls of Dwarka are more than just ruins. They are a tangible bridge across time, suggesting that our oldest myths may not be fiction at all, but the faded memories of a lost world. A single man, working alone under the cover of night, achieved what should have required a team of engineers and industrial machinery. In the early 20th century, a Latvian immigrant named Edward Leedskalnin began a secretive project in Florida that would become one of the most baffling personal endeavors in modern history. Over the course of 28 years, he single-handedly quarried, carved, and positioned over 1,100 tons of oolite limestone, creating the fantastical landscape known as the Coral Castle. The sheer weight of the stone he moved is equivalent to lifting 30 full-grown humpback whales, yet he was a slight man, standing just 5 feet tall and weighing only 100 pounds. He worked almost exclusively at night, shrouding his methods in secrecy and allowing no one to witness his process. When asked how he managed such impossible feats, he would only offer a cryptic smile and say that he had simply rediscovered the building secrets of the ancient Egyptians. The physical evidence he left behind is as mystifying as his methods. The most iconic piece is a massive 9-ton stone gate carved from a single block. This gate was engineered with such incredible precision that it was perfectly balanced on a simple truck bearing, allowing a child to push its immense weight open with a single finger. It rotated smoothly for decades until the mechanism finally seized in the 1980s. A team of engineers was called in to repair it. They brought in a 20-ton crane to lift the gate and were stunned to discover that the central pivot hole had been drilled with a flawless laser-straight bore, a feat of machining that they struggled to replicate with their modern tools. How did one man, using only primitive-looking tools found on the site, achieve such perfection? He claimed to understand the laws of weight and leverage, but his actual techniques have never been explained. The Coral Castle stands not as a ruin from a forgotten age, but as a direct personal challenge from the recent past. It is a monument built by one individual who seemingly possessed a lost knowledge, a secret that allowed him to command stone itself, and one he chose to take with him to his grave. The sheer scale of the foundation at Baalbek forces us to look beyond the Roman temples that crown it, directly at the 3 legendary stones known as the Trilithon. These blocks form a single, seamless course in the western retaining wall, each one a limestone giant measuring over 60 feet long and weighing an estimated 800 tons. To stand before them is to feel a profound sense of disbelief, a physical confrontation with an achievement that seems to mock the limits of human labor. The Romans, for all their engineering genius with cranes, pulleys, and vast workforces, left behind no definitive explanation for how they moved these behemoths. Their known methods, while impressive, were simply not designed for masses of stone this colossal. The logistical nightmare is staggering. After being quarried from a site nearly a full mile away, each block had to be transported across uneven ground, somehow lifted over 20 feet into the air, and then slid into a position so precise that the joints between them remain virtually invisible. This was not merely difficult construction, it was a feat that would push the boundaries of modern engineering. The presence of an even more massive stone, the 1,650-ton stone of the pregnant woman, still sitting in its quarry, only deepens the mystery. It is one thing to move an 800-ton block, but what civilization even contemplates cutting a stone that weighs as much as a fully loaded naval destroyer? The most logical conclusion is that the Romans, master adapters that they were, did not invent this megalithic foundation. They found it. They arrived at Baalbek and discovered a platform of Cyclopean stones already in place, a sacred site built by a culture whose identity and methods have been completely erased. They then built their magnificent temple of Jupiter atop this pre-existing pedestal, co-opting a power and a mystery they could replicate but never truly explain. Deep beneath the sands of Saqqara, a different kind of Egyptian mystery awaits, one not of towering pyramids but of silent, subterranean perfection. The Serapeum is a labyrinth of long, straight tunnels carved into the bedrock, and lining these corridors are 24 colossal boxes, each one a monument to an inexplicable craft. These are not rough-hewn sarcophagi. They are immense, precision-made containers carved from a single, solid block of granite, one of the hardest stones on the planet. Each box weighs between 70 and 100 tons, with a lid to match that itself weighs many tons. To stand inside this chamber is to feel a profound sense of dislocation. The interior surfaces of these granite giants are polished to a mirror-like optical finish, a flawless smoothness that should be impossible to achieve without powered machinery. The corners are not merely approximately square, they are geometrically perfect 90-degree angles, sharp and precise along their entire length. The official explanation is that these were burial vaults for the sacred Apis bulls, and indeed, some were found to contain bovine remains. Yet this purpose does not begin to explain the method. How do you hollow out a 100-ton block of granite, achieving a perfect interior polish and perfect corners, using only the soft copper chisels and stone hammers that mainstream Egyptology provides? Copper is softer than granite. It would simply crumple against the stone's unyielding surface. The technical proficiency on display here is not just advanced, it is anachronistic. It points to a lost high technology, a method for working stone that we can no longer comprehend, a secret that was buried with the boxes in the eternal darkness of the tunnels. High in the Peruvian Andes, the fortress of Ollantaytambo presents a logistical nightmare carved in stone. Its most famous feature, the Wall of the Six Monoliths, is a sheer face of giant red porphyry blocks, each one a titan weighing as much as 50 tons. They are fitted together with that now familiar, impossible precision, the seams between them virtually invisible. But the true mystery of Ollantaytambo is not the wall itself, it is the journey these stones were forced to take. The quarry from which this distinctive red stone was cut is not located conveniently nearby. It lies on the opposite side of the steep valley, separated from the fortress by the raging torrent of the Urubamba River. Just picture the challenge for a moment. First, these monolithic blocks had to be carefully detached from a mountainside. Then they were lowered down that treacherous slope. Next, they had to be moved across the violent river, a barrier that would have required an incredible feat of engineering to cross with such weight. Finally, after reaching the other side, they had to be hauled up the steep incline to the fortress building site and lifted into their final, perfect positions. This was not a simple transport over flat ground. It was a vertical and horizontal obstacle course of epic proportions. The workmanship here is also a profound clue. The stone fitting at Ollantaytambo is distinct from, and in many ways mechanically superior to, other famous Inca sites like Cusco or Sacsayhuaman. While those locations feature the famous jigsaw-style polygonal blocks, the monoliths here are often massive, rectangular slabs fitted with a straight, razor-sharp seam that speaks of a different school of thought, a different level of technological confidence. This has led many to wonder if the Incas, much like the Romans at Baalbek, were not the original builders of this cyclopean foundation. Did they find an older, more advanced core at Ollantaytambo and simply build their own structures upon and around it, inheriting a mystery they could replicate but never fully equal? The fortress stands as a monument to a journey that defies belief, a testament to a will that could move mountains or at the very least convince 50-ton stones to cross them. Even the greatest ambitions can be frozen in time. Carved directly into the bedrock of an Aswan quarry, the unfinished obelisk offers a rare and candid snapshot of ancient engineering pushed to its absolute limit. This was intended to be a true giant, a single piece of red granite that, if successfully raised, would have stood 137 feet tall and weighed close to 1,200 tons. That is heavier than 200 full-grown elephants, but a catastrophic crack formed during its extraction, causing the project to be abandoned, leaving the colossal stone forever bound to the earth that bore it. This apparent failure, however, is our greatest treasure. It is an open-air classroom, its sides showing the clear, methodical marks of the quarry workers' process. We can see the trenches they carved around the obelisk's intended shape, and we know they used fist-sized balls of dolerite, a stone even harder than granite, to pound away at the bedrock hour after hour, day after day. This seems like a brute force method, but the precision required was anything but crude. How do you detach a 1,200-ton monolith from the living earth without it shattering under its own immense weight? The engineers had to carve it with a perfect, uniform depth and an even stress distribution, a task of phenomenal patience and geometric understanding. The crack that ended the project shows just how fine the margin for error truly was. This unfinished stone is more instructive than any polished monument. It demonstrates that the Egyptians' genius was not rooted in magical tools, but in a profound mastery of material, process, and scale. They possessed the audacity to conceive of such a monolith and the organized will to attempt its birth, a testament to a civilization that constantly reached for the impossible, even when the stone itself pushed back. Descending into the Chand Baori is like walking into a stone labyrinth designed by a mathematician. This stepwell in Rajasthan, built in the 9th century, is far more than a simple source of water. It is a staggering 13 stories deep, a colossal inverted pyramid carved directly into the earth. Its 4 walls are a symphony of geometric perfection, lined with 3,500 perfectly symmetrical steps that cascade downward in a mesmerizing, crisscrossing pattern. This was not a haphazard excavation. It was a master-planned feat of engineering, designed to reach the deep water table while simultaneously creating a vast, cool, and socially structured public space. The precision of the stonework is astounding, each step and landing fitting together with a flawless accuracy that speaks of a profound understanding of geometry and structural integrity. What is truly challenging is the timeline. This level of architectural and mathematical sophistication, this ability to envision and execute a structure of such perfect inverted grandeur, seems to belong to a much later era of human history. It served an essential, practical purpose, yes, but the sheer audacity of its design, the artistic vision married to such rigorous engineering, forces us to reconsider the technological capabilities of early medieval India. This was not merely a well, it was a subterranean cathedral to human ingenuity, a place where community, survival, and an almost unearthly sense of order converged in the deep, cool dark. The silent gaze of the Moai is not the only mystery Easter Island holds. Veining the landscape from the volcanic quarry to the coast lies another enigma, a network of ancient paved roads known as the Ara Mahiva. These are not simple dirt paths worn by countless feet. They are engineered thoroughfares deliberately sunken into the earth and lined with raised curbs, a sophisticated infrastructure project on one of the most isolated islands in the world. The construction speaks of a society with a master plan, one capable of organizing labor to create permanent, functional highways for a very specific, monumental purpose. Yet the true story of the Ara Mahiva is told not by the roads themselves, but by what was found upon them, scattered along these sunken lanes, as if frozen in a single moment of time, lie dozens of massive Moai statues. Many have toppled, some lie face down, and others are clearly broken. They were abandoned in transit, left in the exact positions they fell, creating a haunting tableau of a civilization interrupted. This is not the orderly retirement of an old tradition. This is the archaeological signature of a sudden, catastrophic halt. What could have happened that was so urgent, so devastating, that an entire people would simply drop their most sacred, back-breaking work and walk away? The roads are a testament to a society at its peak, a culture capable of grand infrastructure, The fallen giants are the evidence of its shocking and rapid collapse, a silent scream from the past that we are still struggling to interpret. These recurring patterns form a tapestry far more intricate than any single anomaly could reveal. We are not looking at isolated marvels, but at the scattered pieces of a global puzzle. A consistent technological fingerprint appears across continents and millennia, a signature of impossible precision in stonework that surfaces at Giza, echoes at Puma Punku, and is perfected deep within the Serapeum. This is not a case of independent invention where different cultures stumbled upon similar rough techniques. It is the ghost of a specific, advanced methodology, a unified body of knowledge for manipulating stone that our textbooks claim did not exist. Then, just as suddenly as it appears, this knowledge vanishes. The methods for moving 1,000-ton blocks, for achieving optical polish on granite, for drilling perfect cylindrical bores, all of it fades from the record, leaving later cultures to either build upon the foundations of these giants or to simply wonder at their power. Equally telling is the shared celestial obsession. From the Great Pyramid's alignment to true north to the Avenue of the Dead targeting the Pleiades, from the astronomical calculator of the Antikythera mechanism to the sprawling solar observatory of Carnac, we see a deep, sophisticated understanding of cosmic cycles. This was not casual stargazing. It was a precise, long-term science, suggesting its practitioners had been tracking the heavens for centuries, perhaps even millennia. And this brings us to the most profound implication of all, the geographical spread. These unearthly structures are not clustered in one cradle of civilization. They are dotted across the entire planet, in climates and on continents isolated from one another by vast oceans and impassable mountain ranges. How do we explain near-identical megalithic construction techniques appearing in the high Andes, the Egyptian desert, and the mountains of Japan, if these cultures never interacted? The most compelling conclusion is that they were not entirely separate. They may have been the heirs to a common, archaic source, a foundational layer of human achievement that was so widespread its influence seeped into the earliest memories of countless societies. Our current historical timeline, with its neat, linear progression from primitive to advanced, cannot contain this evidence. It is a story that is not merely missing a few pages, but one that may have started in the wrong volume entirely. The evidence scattered across our planet forms a pattern too consistent to ignore. We have wandered through the echoing halls of Derinkuyu, traced the celestial lines of Carnac, and stood in the shadow of the Trilithon's impossible stones. Each one in isolation is a marvel, but together they form a chorus of dissent against the simple story of a steady climb from primitive to advanced. These are not anomalies, they are the weathered signposts of a forgotten road, pointing toward a history that is infinitely richer and far more mysterious than the one contained in our textbooks. This collective evidence forces a humbling conclusion that the timeline of human civilization is not a straight line, but a great spiraling cycle. We see breathtaking peaks of achievement, followed by catastrophic collapses that erased nearly all traces of that knowledge, leaving only the most durable stones to whisper of their passing. Advanced engineering, sophisticated astronomy, and a unified understanding of the Earth's energies seem to have flourished, only to vanish into a dark age, forcing humanity to slowly, painfully, rediscover what was once known. This cyclical view of history is not just a philosophical idea. It is the only framework that can comfortably contain the existence of Göbekli Tepe, a masterpiece from a time when we were supposedly simple hunters, or the submerged walls of Dwarka, a city that aligns with ancient myths of a world lost beneath the waves. The lesson here is not that we must accept any single alternative theory, but that we must cultivate a radical openness, We must question the established narratives we have been handed and look at the physical evidence with fresh, curious eyes. The true story of our past is not a closed book. It is a living puzzle, a grand excavation of human potential that continues, stone by mysterious stone, with every new discovery we make. We would love to hear which of these unearthly structures resonated most deeply with you. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you are ready for more journeys into the unknown, be sure to subscribe.